Welcome in, everybody, to Extreme Radio, sponsored by GracePointe Healthcare, sponsored, scattered, smothered, covered, you name it, by GracePointe Healthcare. Go to GracePointeHealthcare.com. Mention you are with 8-Man Extreme. When you request your appointment online, you get $20 off your new patient office visit fee. GracePointe Healthcare, modern medicine the old-fashioned way. Also sponsored by Dr. Sterling Foster. Go to drsterlingfoster.com for all your digestive issues and chiropractic needs.
We're also brought to you by Jets Pizza, specifically Springfield, Clarksville, Fort Campbell. One coming soon to Goodlettsville, but no matter where you are, it's always a great time to say, let's get Jets. Ha! Fooled you. No, I really don't have a big lead up there for that one. Just you need to go get Jets Pizza, and they need to bring back the BLT pizza.
And you know what else you need to get? Insurance.
And I hate buying insurance, and that's where my buddy Joe Graves comes in. I hate buying insurance.com. He covers it. He's got you taken care of. Just go check out the website. Go give him a chance. See what he can quote you. See what he can do. I gave him a chance, and it's good stuff. So go give him a shot. I hate buying insurance.com.
Well, we are 2 weeks away from the MTAC playoffs starting. Oh, my goodness. We are close. And we're officially on the week of fall break where it's starting to get to the midway point in the semester for students.
I'm sorry, I was a homeschooler. There was no fall break.
No fall break for you. You may have taken breaks for Thanksgiving and such, but you basically had vacation most of the time, right? You did your work at your own pace, right?
Are you serious right now?
Some homeschoolers do that.
Yeah, homeschoolers. I was homeschooled. Homeschoolers
That's right. There's a difference.
are the ones that get up when they want, do their schoolwork in their pajamas, and use rocks in nature to do math and stuff like that.
Didn't you do that?
Those are homeschoolers. No, I was homeschooled.
Okay.
I had a curriculum, and I was taught at my house. There's a difference.
Okay, so there's a difference there. But regardless,
I had recorded lessons with an actual teacher, pre-recorded lessons that I had to watch every day for subjects. So I had a 45-minute for math, so on and so forth. So I had 5.5 hours of video work plus book work and tests. So I was homeschooled. I was not a homeschooler. There is a difference.
Whether or not you enjoyed fall break, a lot of the teams are about to enjoy fall break, and we'll get
some of them need it.
We'll get to that in a minute. But follow along on your helmet schedules, top to bottom. It's time to recap Week 9 scores and all the intense stuff. So we'll start, of course, with the interdivisional game that didn't count towards any playoff standings, but very much it was a changed game from the first time they faced off. The Warriors of Bowling Green against the Lions of Lighthouse. The Lions in Kentucky got it done, 82-58. High-scoring game, about as close as Bowling Green had against Lighthouse back in Week 3 of the regular season. And for Lighthouse, it shows how they have managed to progress throughout the season. They've managed to get better as the weeks have gone by with the games they've played. For Bowling Green, it is a tough loss, but hey, they've got a bye week to rest up against their next opponent. But it just shows that the high-scoring offense for both teams is really a huge impact on them.
I'm gonna say this, okay? So that kickoff was at 7:00. I got the final score text at 10:30. So 3.5-hour game, 82-58. I mean, Lighthouse would pull away, Bowling Green wouldn't die. Back and forth. It was 26-0 at the end of the first quarter. And it just took off from there. But Aiden Hooper, man, he's a baller. He's still a baller. Christian Sharp had just a phenomenal night. Jamari Teague, Dedrick McLean, guys for Lighthouse. In terms of Bowling Green, David Crow had a good night. I think Cam B had a couple touchdowns. But, Gage Holman is the heart and soul of that team. And that's not to demean any of the other players on that team, but Gage Holman is the heart and soul of that team. And he will. I'd be surprised if he did a whole lot yesterday and didn't just rest up after the performance he put on Friday night. But a fantastic game. Just to clear anything up, it did not count towards league standings. It was a pretty much an exhibition game.
Pickup game.
Pickup game, yeah. So It does not count for league. It would be interesting if it did, but it does not. So just to clear that up. But that was 3.5 hours, and how many points is that? 82 to 58. Hang on, I got to do some homeschool math. We just talked about homeschool math. Where did it go? There it is. Hang on. 82 to 58. That's 140 points. 140 points.
It's been a high-scoring,
all
high-scoring season.
It's been some insane scoring.
It's been insane.
A lot of offense.
Yeah,
a lot of offense.
Now, the highest-scoring game that we've ever done was not Ezel. It was Ezel and Evangel, but then it totaled up eventually onto the game that we called between the Tennessee Heat and Bowling Green. So very, very interesting to see that high-scoring game, and it just shows especially to Bowling Green, because they did this against the Tennessee Heat. It shows to them of how much fight they have in them, regardless of how much they're down.
Yeah,
the whole team. Back.
The whole team doesn't give up. The whole team it's insane the amount of like you said, for lack of a better term, it's incredible the amount of fight that they have.
You just
I was reading the comments.
Okay.
Listen, buddy. Listen, to me, baller is a very high compliment. So there you go, and you can keep your $5. But I don't need the $5.
You can keep your $5.
Yeah. So hey, if there's people out there that are good players that are ballers, I mean, there you go. But yeah, just incredible amount of fight, really, from both teams. Because once Bowling Green started coming back, Lighthouse could have laid down, and they didn't. They kept fighting. So, I mean, it's obvious when you have an 82-58 game, ain't nobody quitting anything.
Exactly. Kudos to the Lions for getting it done. And they've got a bye week next week, as we're going to be saying that a lot today. And then the Lions, at least they finished their season for an individual matchup at home against the Christian Community Colts. And for Bowling Green, bye week as well for them. And then they host the Freedom Cowboys, Alabama, for the first time they've matched up against each other.
First time since 2005 that a team from Kentucky and Alabama have played each other.
It's been a while. Been a while for sure.
How about those stats?
What was looking like an in-divisional game to determine who's going to host the first round of the North playoffs turned into just an independent game for both teams, and we'll get to that later in the show. But the Patriots of South Haven traveled on Friday, unusual for the Tennessee Heat because most of their games
they
host
usually
on
don't
Saturday.
play on Fridays.
They mostly play on Saturdays, but the Patriots traveled and they could not get it done on the road. Managed to keep it close, but the Tennessee Heat won 32-28, and that just shows the strength of the Tennessee Heat on picking up those two Hasley brothers. Excuse me, not Hasley.
Corley brothers.
Picking up the Corley brothers. And it also shows to South Haven on how good their offense has been throughout the season, because they've gotten some high scores. They've been close. And at least for both teams, just to lose by 4, nothing to be ashamed of.
Well, Ty Whitaker, it was a great job by the Heat coach staff and Coach Ryan Scott finding out what worked and sticking with it. I mean, Ty Whitaker, I've got 1 touchdown, 2 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns by Ty Whitaker on Friday night. And you look at South Haven, of course, Manny Dang with the second half kickoff, running it back for a touchdown. The interception ran back for a touchdown by the Patriots. So all 3 phases of their game were clicking in terms of producing points for them. But South Haven, or the Heat, just a great job of figuring out what works. Drew Atkinson scored for South Haven. Manny Dang did have a rushing touchdown. They had a 20-7 lead. And then, all of a sudden, Trace Aldrich scored, and it kind of turned everything at that point. Of course, like I said, the Patriots got the second half kickoff, and then Ty Whitaker 3 straight touchdowns. And even though they didn't get any of the 2-point conversions, I mean, this game, you throw in 2-point conversions, we'd be looking at like a 40-30 or 40-36 kind of game. But it was an incredible game. A lot of fun. Would have been a lot of fun to get to watch, but super thankful for updates from Mr. Jimbo Savely covering PA for him and sending us updates. So shout out there to him. But sounded like a fun game.
Very much a fun game to see for sure. And for the South Haven Patriots, they've got a bye week. And then they have a matchup. Actually, it's going to be a flip-flop. We'll show you on the playoff picture in a little bit that I'm actually working on right now while we're in studio. We had a lot of stuff to talk about before the show. But
a little bit of all-star stuff.
Oh, yeah. the bye week for the Patriots in fall break, but then they travel on the road to their incoming playoff opponents, the Riverside Christian Academy Knights. They face off in Fayetteville. And as for the Tennessee Heat, they've got 2 games lined up. Next, they travel to the Mountain Lions at 2 p.m. on Saturday, and then they travel all the way out to Knoxville to play against the Tennessee.
They got a little bit of traveling to close the season out.
They do, and that was one of the great things we heard from Ryan Scott after the game we called, is that he's told his guys that they are going full 11 weeks. 11 weeks. They do not stop.
Yeah, for sure.
And even of course decided to go 12 if they had made the playoffs. But of course we'll get into that later. Christian Community School, they traveled down to Huntsville after hosting them last year, and then traveling down to 2017. They hosted the Freedom Cowboys out of Huntsville, Alabama. They hosted them last year.
We've seen them a couple times.
Traveled down. We managed to see them a few times on the season. They've got a good squad going, and their squad was able to
squad up.
Squad. That's what they said before the game, and they got it done. 38-14 against the defending conference champions. And for Christian Community, it's nothing to be ashamed of, because the Freedom Cowboys, they always put up a tough challenge no matter what MTAC teams they face, and especially for the Colts to put up 14 on them. That's only the Colts' 3rd loss of the season, and 2 of those losses coming from out-of-division opponents. So very interesting game to see from Huntsville, and kudos to the Cowboys for getting it done.
Well, CCS went in already a little banged up after the last couple weeks. But then right off the bat, for what we got, Brooks Pugh and Micah Jones went down early in the game. And so that obviously affects you any time that you lose senior leadership at that level. Your starting quarterback and your best wide receiver, and then you lose your best 2 DBs. That's always going to affect you. But Freedom, on the other hand, they got going. Jaden Hermina with a touchdown. Their defensive lineman, Brady Connolly, was able to return an interception somehow as a defensive lineman. I don't know if it was a deflection or what. Able to take it back for a touchdown. Quarterback ran for a couple touchdowns. Dan Adams was able to score. So, it was kind of back and forth, but in the end, just a gutsy win for Freedom on a Christian Community team that was struggling a little bit without some leadership. So it was a good ball game. A solid win for Freedom. Of course, they moved to 3-1 on the year against MTAC teams, and so we'll have to see how they do against Bowling Green in a couple weeks. But big win for the Cowboys.
Yeah, big win for them for sure. Don't have the schedule up for the Cowboys. I'm not sure who they're facing off
they
against
play,
in fall break.
Hang on. They play East Central Homeschool, a team out of Eastern Alabama, on Friday night. And then, of course, they play Bowling Green last week of the season. And they are independent, so they don't have any playoffs. But I've heard they may be heading to the NACA tournament up there in Panama, or in Dayton, rather, if they bring that 8-man tournament back.
Right. It's going to be interesting to see that, and see how they play.
What if we saw a Tennessee Heat Freedom Cowboys rematch at that tournament?
That'd be interesting.
That would be
really cool.
That would be really cool to see a rematch. See what where the Heat have developed, the point that they've developed to. See them play the Cowboys at full strength on a neutral site.
Suggestion for you, Mr. Statistician, kind of. Why don't you pull up the NHSA rankings if they're released, at least for the updated week, and we'll see where the Heat stand and all those teams stand as we go through the rest of the
I don't think the Heat are high just because of what happened early in the season, but I will pull it up. So anyways.
We'll see how it goes. For the Christian Community Colts, they have a bye week, and then they finish off their season on the road against the Lighthouse Christian School Lions. Going towards the south, a big matchup in terms of who would officially clinch a playoff berth, depending on some other results. But Riverside Christian Academy traveled on the road for their last South game of the year against the Lancaster Christian Academy Knights. They went over to Smyrna on a kickoff time of 7:30, and although the score ended 72-36, where Lancaster just turned on the Jets, Riverside Christian, you look at that box score, they were leading, I think, by 14 points at one point in the game. It was either that or by 12.
Well, Lancaster scored right off the bat first in the game, but then you had Michael Black with a 95-yard interception return. You had the Black brothers, the Dark Connection, hooking up for a 85-yard touchdown, and then Deuce Bragg to the Moore brothers twice in the first quarter. And then from there, I mean, it was all Lancaster. But Riverside obviously didn't. It was 42-22 at the half, so still doable. David Black hit Crutcher Ezel for a touchdown, but then it was Deuce Bragg. Apparently, there was a sprinkler delay during the game, too.
That's the second time we've ever
had
had
another
that.
sprinkler. We have had a sprinkler delay before. They are hilarious.
I remember that.
I mean,
It was
Deuce
pretty
Bragg with an incredible night in terms of stats. I'm trying to get his stats exact. I don't want to misquote his stats. Let me look at this, okay? Deuce threw for 11 touchdowns and at least 650 yards.
Whew. It's
So-
again. Now the interesting thing is that in the last two games for Riverside, in the last two games they've had in the South, Riverside, I believe, Lancaster, I believe Bragg has thrown interceptions. I'm not sure if they were deflections, such like that, but in the last two games,
Classical, he did. I don't think against FCA, but you're talking about Classical and Riverside.
No, well, I was talking about Lancaster specifically. Bragg's thrown interceptions.
But you're talking
in
about the
last two
games
games
against Classical and Riverside.
Yep,
Yes, he threw
those last
interceptions in
two
both games. But here's the thing about Deuce Bragg. He's able to rebound from those interceptions,
Exactly.
and they don't get in his head, kind of like Sam Hubbard did Friday night, throwing the two interceptions and fumbling the ball first half. At second half, he still came out and balled and led his team to a win.
Exactly.
By the way, just so you know, Tennessee Heat are ranked 22nd according to last week's rankings. No, this is 55 minutes ago. Tennessee Heat are ranked number 22. Freedom Cowboys are ranked at number 10.
Whew.
So there you go.
So those are the national
We'll keep
rankings.
these rankings handy because I'm going to want to mention them in a second.
Right, we'll mention them in just a moment. But again, congratulations to Lancaster Christian and Riverside. We'll get to the game that officially sealed their playoff berth. Officially, on paper, they're in the playoffs now. But for Lancaster Christian, regardless of playoff seedings or not, they've got a bye week, and then they need that rest for their next tough home game against the Ezel Harding Eagles.
It's a massive
to
game.
determine who gets the first round bye and who has to turn right around and host the Bowling Green Christian Academy Warriors. And again, we'll get to that later. But the game that sealed the fate of the playoffs, Ezel Harding traveled to Jim Warren Park in Franklin to collide with the Franklin Christian Academy Falcons on their senior night. And unfortunately, on senior night, they put up some decent points against Ezel. They put up a fight, but 67-38, the final score. The Eagles got it done, and still the only loss for Ezel Harding has come from outside of the state. They have not taken a loss, and they've only got one other game against Lancaster, which is going to be really interesting. But for the Falcons, of course, to put up 38 points, I believe that other than Evangel, that's the highest score any team has had on the Eagles thus far in the season. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's correct.
I would have to look at
Box scores.
Well, no, I can look at their schedule real quick, and I can pull that up in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1.
Nice countdown.
So I gave myself 10 seconds to pull it up. So they in the wins that they've had, they had 30 points scored by Riverside, 22 by the Heat, 13 by Classical, 34 scored by Lighthouse. So 38 might be the most. Hang on. 34 by Lighthouse, 34 by Christian Community, and 38 by FCA. So, yeah, FCA has scored more points on them than Christian Community, who's in the playoffs, and Riverside, who's in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So, a big night. And here's the thing, though. Ezel could have pulled some of their starters, played some backups. That very well could have happened. But FCA is reeling after losing Daniel Holcomb. They're still developing in terms of the quarterback position and different players. So, it's a tough season for them. The injury bug got them good. But, a big win for Ezel, and they just continue to roll. That game in 2 weeks, Ezel Lancaster, that's a massive, massive game.
Yeah, massive game. And with Ezel Harding getting the victory over Franco Christian, everyone officially was locked into the playoffs. Because, again, coming into this week, FCA could have won out their games, and it would have been a three-way coin toss per the tie-breaking scenario. So now Ezel Hardy got the job done, and Riverside still in the playoffs, but they are locked at the number 3 seed for that. But regardless of playoff seeds, of course, Franklin Christian, they've got a bye week, and then the Battle of Franklin occurs a week from this coming Thursday, and it's on the road, technically down the street against the Franklin Classical School Knights.
Literally from where we're at.
Then for Ezel Harding, as we said about Lancaster, they travel on the road after their fall break, and then they face off against the Lancaster Christian Academy Knights for the right to have a first-round bye in the playoffs. The game that we were at, the game we managed to call, was the longtime rival, at least ever since St. Andrew Swanee came into the league. Their first time on an extreme game of the week. The Mount Lions
It's just
traveled
hard
up
with
to
Swanee's
Franklin.
schedule this year.
Yeah, traveled up to Franklin to face off against the Classical School Knights, and 46-14 was the final score, so the Knights got it done. And we mentioned it before, it doesn't matter to teams whether or not they are in or out of the playoffs. Obviously, it's a benefit, but you hear it from coaches all the time about one game at a time, and that was very prevalent here from both teams. I mean, I think it was maybe 14-7 at one point in the game. Like Swanee may have gotten a score, maybe 21-7. So it was very.
It was
within
close.
Reach.
I mean,
it was within reach.
It was tight. Hang on. Hang on. Let me get the where did the app go?
Where'd the
Because I can
Tennessee
look
High
at the
School
box
football
score.
app.
Yeah, Tennessee High School football app.
Just look at that.
If you don't have it, what are you even doing? But
exactly.
you're certainly not buying this Fire October 8-Man Extreme shirt. That's not available for sale yet, but it could be.
Not yet. It could be.
If there's enough requests. Let's see. So the Swanee Classical game, it was 7-0 at the end of the first. It was 13-0 at halftime. So it was only 13-0, and then Sam Hubbard just exploded in the third quarter, led his team 26 points in the third quarter. I'll tell you, though, Caleb McLean is a beast. A beast. He's solid. Cam Robinson had a great game. There were great catches really on both sides of the ball. I mean, Josh Salstrom showed up. Clay Lott showed up. I think it was
Austin showed up a decent amount as well.
Josh Austin showed up for sure. And, of course, him and Jonah Roach got a little banged up. Had to sit out the second half, I believe. But I'm trying to pull up a Swanee roster because there was a catch, and I want to give the young man a shout-out. I don't want to say kid. I believe it was number 20, Bosane. I think, no. Was that who caught it? It might have been Bosane. I think he had the incredible catch. But also, I do want to mention on the backside of that play, Spencer, what about the move, the catch that, was it Jed Mangrum?
I think so.
Mangrum had. If I'm wrong on that, correct me, and I apologize for calling the wrong guy. But the move that Jed Mangrum had, or it might have been Genrath. I think it was Mangrum. I mean, he literally hit every button on an Xbox controller in Madden in one play. I mean, it was spin move, juke, stiff arm, sprint. I mean, it was just insane. So, but a great win for Classical. Coach Herrera has got them headed in the right direction. I do believe that, and it's going to be a good battle of Franklin for sure.
And the one game, and of course for Classical, for the Mountain Lions, they've got their final game of the season at home against the Tennessee Heat on Saturday, 2 p.m. And then, of course, Classical takes a bye week for fall break, and then the Battle of Franklin is at home. The one game we forgot to mention that is –
I didn't forget. You forgot.
I didn't go in specific order, but on Thursday, the Tennessee School for the Deaf, a big win for them at home, 64-24 against the South Carolina School for the Deaf and Blind, and the Vikings.
South Carolina.
The Vikings just pushing on.
They own South Carolina like the Vols should, but anyways, just a huge win for them, back in the win column. Both their wins this year coming against South Carolina. So, but a big game coming up Saturday. Big one. I want to say first-time opponent, but I don't want to say the wrong thing. So let me do a little, just some quick research, Spencer, while you go on and talk about the next thing, and I'll completely cut in with something unrelated. But anyways,
exactly, that's how it always works.
That's how it works.
Yeah. So the Vikings, they have the Florida School for the Deaf and Blind this coming Saturday, and one of only 2 games active in the teams we cover. So that's all the scores for this week, ladies and gentlemen, and it is time for us to look at the playoff bracket. You look on the stream, here we go. We're about to talk about the recent developments that have happened with the Tennessee Heat, but here is where the playoff brackets stand. We know exactly who's going to be in the playoffs. Final question is, where is Bowling Green going, and which team gets a first-round bye?
Spencer, Tennessee has never played Florida.
There we go. Out of context, as I'm moving on to the next thing, uninterrupted.
They've never played Florida. They played Wisconsin, but they've never played Florida.
So the Christian Community Colts, they sealed their playoff fate weeks ago because they had most of their North games earlier. They had their North games earlier, so they have the first-round bye as the number 1 seed in the North. Meanwhile, for the South, of course, that matchup between the Lancaster Knights and the Eazell Eagles, that is going to determine who's the number 1 seed in the South and number 2 seeds in the South. They both get a home game, so congratulations to them on that, but one team gets a first-round bye and potentially an easier path to the championship. As we said, for the number 2 seed in the South, it's between either Eazell or Lancaster. Number 2 seed is officially clinched by the South Haven Christian School Patriots, with the Tennessee Heat effective immediately going out of MTAC, and they will host the Riverside Christian Academy Knights, who locked in the number 3 seed in the South after Friday's results. The Patriots will travel down to Fayetteville on October 18th, and then they will host in Springfield on October 25th. And, of course, the Bowling Green Christian Academy Warriors, with their tiebreaker victory over Lighthouse Christian School in Week 3 of the regular season, they will be traveling to either Smyrna or Antioch. It's about the same travel for them regardless, but congratulations to the Warriors on getting it done earlier in the season and making the playoffs. So that is where we stand going into Week 10, where all the teams are going to be on a break, so except for Nick, that 3 teams that we cover. So everybody else will be on a break, as the playoffs are almost 100% locked. It'll happen on the night of October 18th. So, recent developments, ladies and gentlemen.
Here's what everyone wants to talk about.
Everyone wants to talk about is the Tennessee Heat, effective immediately, have withdrawn from the Middle Tennessee Athletic Conference in football. They're waiting to see how it plays out for basketball and volleyball. I believe
they're in volleyball and cross country, but there's my understanding is there's going to be a board meeting to figure out the rest of the sports. But Ryan Scott does have the authority to pull football and make decisions like that. So we have an official statement. Thank you to MTAC for giving us a statement on the matter. Here's the first time I'm going to do this today. It's going to happen again. But here you go, MTAC. Thank you for the statement. I do appreciate it.
The first time you're doing that
I am
today.
criticized for not praising the league when they do something that we like, and so I am going to publicly praise the league. Thank you for reaching out and giving us a statement, period.
Okay. So the statement they gave us, two MTAC.
Do you not agree?
I'm not saying I don't agree.
Okay.
I'm just pushing along. So per the league, their statement: we are so thankful for the Tennessee Heat's involvement with this conference over the years. Their contributions to our football league are very much appreciated. They have made the decision to compete as an independent organization effective immediately. We completely support their decision and wish them the best moving forward. So that's the official statement from the league. And more on that story, including Ryan Scott's official statement on it from the Tennessee Heat's perspective. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Mr. J.D. Young back on the show since 2016.
Now,
JD.
he has been involved with us since the beginning of the season doing a website.
You can't introduce me and then not allow me to introduce myself.
Well, I'm trying to introduce you, and then you can introduce yourself.
But Spencer already introduced me.
Fine. I'm just going to sit over here.
You're calling him out on that. I introduced you.
I'm going to sit over here. I'm going to sit over here and shut up.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, welcome back to the Extreme to the 8-Man Extreme brand. Welcome back to the show, Mr. J.D. Young.
Right off the bat, proving why we need to buy cough buttons.
I was trying to let him talk. I was trying to let him talk, and you just cut him off to plug your cough buttons.
I did that right though.
You did the coughs right. For sure.
I didn't have a choice.
All right. Well, again, welcome back. We're glad to have you as the website designer, and hopefully get you in on a game here and there, depending on whenever your schedule's available and such. But You're kind of our league insider, just a little bit. All of us are technically league insiders.
Well,
here to
I
get
am for this
information
current
inside.
instance.
For this current instance, you're our league insider, basically the Ian Rappaport
Team
of
insider.
Extreme.
And I think
Team
I think
insider.
I only qualify for that right now because that's
Exactly.
my alma mater.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep. So
pretty
we're gonna get raw
Pretty much.
reactions to the statement from Ryan Scott. So
That's right, because I didn't
Yep,
share this
'cause
with
you
you
didn't
guys.
share
You
it
told
was-
us you had one, and
Yep.
I said let's wait and get live reaction.
Yep. Live reaction. So Ryan Scott's statement.
All right, so basically, after all this went down, I went ahead and got in touch with Coach Scott and wanted to get some sort of backstory on this. His official statement says, the MTAC board ruled yesterday that 2 of our players were ineligible as they live outside a 25-mile radius. We actually have many players on our roster who have been approved for play who live greater distances. Although confused and disappointed, we accept the decision and will exit the MTAC as we remain committed to our boys and what is best for them. We have always been upfront and proactive about our unique structure as a homeschool organization. We are withdrawing from MTAC play from now on as we realize we are no longer a good fit for the league and will enjoy the freedom of being an independent homeschool program. We wish all the best to the remaining teams and appreciate the opportunity we have had to play football in the MTAC.
All right. So that's the official statement from Ryan Scott. So James, your thoughts on both statements and just the recent developments.
I have a lot of thoughts, but I'll condense it. I do applaud Ryan Scott for sticking by his guns and for putting his kids first and for focusing on the purpose of the Tennessee Heat, which is to give homeschool athletes a chance to play.
Yep.
You've benefited from it.
100%.
100%. I didn't get to play for him, but I had the experience of being a homeschooler playing football. I wish I'd known about 8-man football and being able to play as a homeschooler earlier. I don't know who I would have played for. Probably still CCS, but if I'd known about the Heat, that would have been an option too. Maybe Irvin Iron Academy. But I do applaud Ryan Scott for sticking by his guns. I applaud the league for sticking by their guns because I'm gonna say this. I am a firm believer that rule, the 25-mile rule, which is under the homeschool part of the bylaws, I'm a believer that is a bad rule. And
Well, see, I've got some more information for you on that,
okay,
but we can get to that in a second.
okay. So I think it's a bad rule. I do, but I will applaud the league for enforcing that rule because one of my biggest things has always been if something's in the bylaws, let's enforce it. Now, if there's a bad rule in the bylaws, let's take a look at it and possibly remove it, not ignore it, or change it. But it is in the bylaws, and therefore, they stuck to their guns and enforced it, and I will applaud the league for that. It was a good enforcement of a bad rule. It happens all the time in sports. So that's my take on it. That it is what it is.
Okay, so this is according to, going back into Scott's statement where he says we actually have many players on our roster who have been approved by the league that live greater distances than the ones that were, considered ineligible.
Right.
With that being the case, obviously the Heat and the league had an understanding and some sort of amendment to that rule. Now, whether that was followed 100% all the way through with every single player involved, don't know.
Well, let me throw this in there too. They last year they did apply for a hardship, whatever it's called.
Yeah, it's probably a hardship. They
Hardship application. Yeah, the same thing. Whenever you have a kid go from, for instance, you had a kid go from Franklin Christian to Franklin Classical to Franklin Christian, even though the schools are in the same town.
Yep.
He moved because of his brother having to move for certain reasons. So the FCA applied for a hardship and was granted that. So you can apply for a hardship. But it's to my understanding, it's a year by year basis.
It was the same thing with John Buchanan in 2017 because even though it's not from in between member schools, he came from Centennial to FCA, and I believe he was granted a hardship but had to sit out the 14 days.
Right.
So it was the same thing with John.
Well,
Buchanan.
everyone's gonna sit. I mean, the 2 kids from the Heat sat out the 14 days.
Yep.
So, anyways.
But with that being said, we were all under the impression of a confidential source that prior to Tim Pettit stepping down,
Mm-hmm.
the conversation had taken place that something needed to be done about that rule.
Yeah, per our source, yeah.
Because there are several instances, and it doesn't even have to be just the homeschool organization itself. You could also look at West Academy and FCA's
Co-op.
Because if you think about it, those living on the outside of West Academy having to travel all the way to FCA, that would be more than likely a greater
Well, the only
distance.
difference with that would be if they're within the 25-mile radius of Dixon, they're allowed to be at that school and participate in sports for that school. And then there's a co-op, so that's another part of it. There's a co-op between
that's
the
a
two
question
schools, so
about
that
the
would be
rule.
only
That's a
difference.
question about the rule. I'm guessing it's that if you co-op, you have to be within a 25-mile radius of both of those schools. I don't know if that 25-mile radius thing is part of is that part of the brick and mortar schools? That's a
No,
question
it
of
is under the
bylaw.
homeschool part of the
it's under
bylaws,
specific homeschool stuff.
which we, even though it says 2017, we're told that is the updated bylaws.
Yeah,
But either way,
multiple-
it was brought to our attention that before Pettit stepped down as president,
Mhm.
it was brought to his attention, and so then I asked Coach Scott. I said, according as far as we know, it was brought to his attention.
Right.
How did all that go? He said it was never promised, but he said that it felt like it was a rule that needed to be amended or eliminated. And he also said that he was aware of several schools who had athletes outside of that range and were approved as well by a hardship.
Mhm.
Well, but we don't want to speak to Tim for Tim Pettit. We don't want to speak to
Right.
Tim Pettit.
Right, but anyways, as this is per Scott's view,
Right.
and I was told that I could speak from his point of view.
Right.
For the messages
Um,
specifically, yeah.
So he said that there were other players that were eligible with a hardship for the same that he did for 12 of the Heat's players last year.
Okay.
With that being said, he says sadly the rule was never amended, and the board chose on Wednesday not to amend it for us. And so he says, basically, he goes on to say that he just he hates it for the conference's standpoint that at this current time, maybe after the season's over and that everybody goes back and looks at it and they can see it then. But when it's brought to their attention, they have to make a decision at that point in time. He doesn't appreciate.
Here's
He
the
doesn't appreciate the
Timing.
timing or the conference not seeing
No.
how harmful.
Well, they sure did. They sure did move quick.
but
Well,
not seeing how
that is true.
harmful the rule itself is for the Heat's program.
If the kids are the
or-
primary
right,
focus.
If the kids are the focus.
Because
then-
here's what I will say. It's interesting because that's a question of we had a case like this. We had a case not in terms of eligibility, but we had a case like this last year where in terms of if Sacred Heart or Lighthouse were eligible for the postseason, and there wasn't official confirmation on that until about 14 days before the playoffs were supposed to start, of saying that Lighthouse is ineligible because of this and Sacred Heart is eligible because of this. And per the league, when we were told about that, they told that everyone was told who needed to know back in July, which seemed to be a bit ambiguous because some of the coaches who needed to know didn't know. So that seems like the case here. It's the question of, was this discussed prior to the season, and was the official decision just made about a few days before the playoffs, or was this one of these everyone was told who needed to know back in July, but supposedly it's not told until the last second, virtually the last second before the playoffs.
Let me. I've got the.
Especially with
I've
the
got
South Haven game being on the line for whoever's going to host a playoff game.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah.
only thing that. And again, I'm not on the board, and I can't. None of us can speak for the board because we're not in those meetings. We're not in those emails.
Well, I don't
But
think
what
it
we-
was the timing of the game Friday. I think
Okay.
it was the fact that the players ended up coming in when they did. I don't think it has anything to do with the
That's
game.
fair.
It just because you could say that could have happened early in the year, and then you're like, well, the game's not as high as a risk, so then you're not as likely to blame the game.
But then
and
again,
the timing of the game.
But then again, you also have to consider, like for example, when I was playing, I know of a couple kids that I played with when I was when I was playing for the Heat. They were outside of a 25-mile radius.
When-
Now, I don't
when-
know when this rule was added.
I don't
but-
know either. When I played against Aaron Academy back 2011, they had two kids driving from Bowling Green coming down to Hendersonville for practices and games. So
Mhm.
I know dang well that's without outside the 25 miles.
And so, with that being said, I also look at it from an athlete's standpoint. You know, these kids don't know any better. As far as they know, they get to go play. You know, they just
Yeah,
get to play
yeah.
ball. They get to be home.
Exactly.
They get to be a homeschooler, and they get
Yeah,
to go play ball.
that's what it comes down
Because
to.
for
is
me, when I was watching them, you know, when I was playing, I knew kids were traveling farther than that. I had no idea about a rule or anything like that, or
Exactly.
that
Yeah,
they had
exactly.
that they had to, you know, file for this or that or whatever.
Well, let me bring up these two rules that are under the homeschool part of the bylaws. There are two sections under this, along with the 25-mile rule. Section 10, Part C says the student must be registered with the head of school of the member school by August 1st of the current school year. Section E says by August 15th of the school year, the parent or guardian must make application for participation under the umbrella of the member school in which the homeschool athlete wishes to try out and participate. So I don't know where that fits in terms of the heat, because they don't have technically
they're not a
head
brick
of
and mortar school.
Yeah, it's not a brick and mortar school, so it is a special situation. And
The only thing I could consider head of schools or anything
would
to
maybe
that
be
title
Ryan
would
Scott,
maybe
the
be-
athletic director.
exactly.
well, him or Steve Herndon. I mean, there are people on the board of for the Heat.
Exactly.
So
But
the-
you don't have one specific umbrella school when it comes to
At a homeschool
you know, when
organization.
you're speaking into a homeschool organization, you don't have one specific
Yeah, it's just
umbrella school
Yeah,
that heads all the others.
Exactly.
I mean, you take from New Life Academy, you take from Heritage Christian, you take from so on and so forth, and there's no
You know what I wonder though? I wonder if Aaron Academy was still around, how they would be treated and how they would feel about this. If Aaron Academy still had active sports, because they
Here's the
they
sa-
did have a
here's the sad part to
building.
that, though.
They
Here's the
ha-
sad part to that though. Yes, Aaron Academy was a homeschool organization and played under, you know, Aaron Academy had a team as their own
Yeah.
school.
Yeah,
The Heat is compiled of many.
right.
So I believe Aaron Academy would have been looked at as a brick and mortar school.
That's
Because
true.
they did not pull
They did have
from-
a building in that they taught
Exactly.
co-op classes at. Yeah. Okay. I can see your point.
Because you got to remember, freshman year, the first time I started homeschooling,
But it
I
was
went
still,
to Aaron
but
Academy.
it was still all pure homeschoolers though.
Yes.
There are no other teams in the league that are pure homeschoolers.
Yeah.
correct.
So that's
For
what
football, basketball,
exactly.
you have Western Kentucky Trailblazers, Daniel One Academy, West Academy. You know, you have a whole bunch of teams for
And
basketball and stuff.
there's a couple in baseball too,
Right in baseball. So yeah,
like the Monarchs.
So
and
it's
on and
it's
so
a
forth.
tough situation.
Yeah,
it really is.
It's tough, and I mean, it's it's interesting because I mean, like JD said, you know, per Ryan Scott's statement, he did what he believed was in the best interest of you know, the players and giving them their game and such, and like you said with the bylaws, it's really interesting because of it's just really interesting from what you said about the bylaws. It's that there's not really any. It's really difficult because there's no specific pinpointed rule that not target is a bad word, that doesn't cover the Heat because they're a homeschool organization, because they technically have a brick and mortar place, and it's that I forget what church it is that they have their basketball and volleyball games at.
Well, no, that's just somewhere where they have their. That's not their actual headquarters.
Yeah, because that's
in Hermitage. Their
yeah, it's in
actual
Hermitage,
address is for Mount Juliet.
That's true.
Yeah.
So it's really
It's all over Wilson County.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much.
yeah. So it's
Now they did have plans to build a complex and build an actual brick and mortar building and
yeah.
have a headquarters, but they haven't gotten to that point
But
yet.
is it completely necessary? Not really.
Yeah, it's interesting to see, and I think you know, like James said, I think the league did the best decision they could do in terms of the bylaws and the enforcement. Should it be a rule? That's a conversation that the board will have to have. Of course, with James' opinion, believes it's bad rule.
Well, I would encourage the board to bring in several points of view when discussing it,
sure.
and make sure there are several points of view there, and it's not just brick and mortar schools. That they might have homeschool co-ops, but I would bring in several different opinions of that.
Yeah, sure.
of
that's fine.
that rule and how to interpret that and how to enforce that.
Yeah.
Just to get all the facts.
Yeah, but regardless of anything, per that, the Heat has decided to go independent. I believe we heard the word they might be trying to pick up some 11-man games too, which would be really good.
They might
That'd
go into
That'd
Memphis
be really
Nighthawks.
that'd be really good for their organization too, to go from 8-man and start developing, getting more ground going and such.
Well, it's like we said last year. I mean, they co-opted with HCA because both teams were struggling with numbers.
2016, yeah.
And now 2 years later they're in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And then this year they would have made the playoffs.
Yep.
So incredible job by Coach Ryan Scott to turn that program. He's really got it headed in the right direction. And honestly, several coaches feel that way as well.
Yep, and we're looking at 2 years in a row where a team has gotten in the playoffs because another team has been ineligible or dropped out, of course. But that doesn't detract from Bowling Green's skill or the Heat skill from last year.
And Gage Holman's going to get in those in the playoffs and tear it up.
Oh yeah,
he is.
I'm sure he is. Even outside the Lancaster or Ezel, I wonder if that defense is going to be able to hold him. I wonder if that defense is going to hold Gage Holman. It'll be interesting.
I wonder if that defense is going to Holman.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Oh my gosh.
All right, well, that's our discussion of the Heat. We wish all the best, of course, to Ryan Scott and the Tennessee Heat organization. We're still going to cover them just as much as we cover any of the other teams.
Yeah,
really
for sure.
That's one of those needless to say things.
Yeah,
but we're gonna,
obviously.
We're going to cover them just as much. It's going to be fantastic. Best of luck to them, of course, and congratulations to Bowling Green. You guys are in the playoffs.
That's big for. How about Bowling Green keep moving up?
Exactly.
I know their season record didn't reflect it, but I mean, going from barely winning any games to winning some games, and then the bowl game last year, and then the playoffs this year.
Yep, congratulations to them. It's fantastic. All right, time to get into the previewing games. But before they do that, just a quick reminder, ladies and gentlemen, we're doing a raffle for free Chick-fil-A for a year. If you go to 8manextreme.com, you can enter in on that. It's $10 an entry. Everything goes to our costs to reinvest in broadcasting equipment and everything. Doesn't go into our pockets.
Constantly ongoing.
It's constant, yeah, because you keep begging for cough buttons. It's a good cost, but you keep begging for it. So just make sure to enter in on that. You might be able to win Chick-fil-A for a year, and your entry is confirmed when you submit payment for however many entries you decide to do. We've got a few entries in that are confirmed now. We still got a few invoices pending, so just make sure to get those paid so you can get your entries in, and we will go from there.
And don't forget, eat more chicken.
Of course, eat more chicken, and you'll be able to eat some more with the 2019 Chick-fil-A All-Star Game. It's
Boom.
Going to be great. November 16th is when the game is. The actual weekend, 14th through 16th, we'll have all our social media posts and everything going along.
We'll have a blast.
It's going to be great. Time to preview the games, but if you look on your helmet schedules, ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot of 8-man Extreme logos on there. You know why?
It's so beautiful.
It's fall.
It's so beautiful. All those logos.
This is the first time we've had it in a while where there are no games on Friday for 8-man football in Tennessee and Kentucky. But James is really excited because it's time
told you I had something cooking.
It's time to make 8-man Extreme history again. The third time we've done history, and this time it's the first game that is being called by two teams that are not from Tennessee.
Two teams that I have no clue about.
And
I had an inkling of an idea when we did the middle school game last Tuesday. All I know is stats from these two teams. I am so excited about this.
Yep. You are.
Can I? Okay.
Ahead.
So this Friday night, I'm going to be teaming up with former Lancaster Christian running back Matt Bowden. I said his name right this time. We will be heading down to Elmore, Alabama, to Edgewood Academy, where Ezekiel Academy plays their games, and we're going to be broadcasting Ezekiel Academy hosting Russell Christian. Now, Russell Christian has a history with CCS, and I'm looking up their stats right now. Micah Taylor is their quarterback, 58 of 83, 1,300 yards, 22 touchdowns, and interception. Russell is 8-0. Their top wide receiver is his brother, Caleb, 28 catches, 760 yards, 14 touchdowns. In terms of tackles, they've got 59 tackles, 86 tackles, total tackles, 55 tackles on the year. So they've got a stacked team. They're taking on Ezekiel, who is 6-2. Now, they played early in the season. Russell won 30-0, but it was at Russell. Ezekiel played Evangel last week, Big win for Evangel. We all know how tough Evangel is. They beat Ezel Harding.
And going into this week as well, Russell is the number 3 seed on the NHSA rankings.
I was just
Ezekiel
about to
Academy,
pull that
number
up.
8. Number 8. I had it pulled up for you.
Okay, so it's 3 versus 8.
Yep.
That's a big matchup. That's a big matchup. 3 versus 8. I'm stoked to do it. I'm excited. I'm excited to team up with Matt. Of course, we had him on the Extreme Talk right off the bat.
We had him on the show back a month ago, I think. Month and a half ago.
Well, no, it was like the first show, one of the first shows.
Yep.
Had him on for a minute, did an Extreme Talk. Like I said, former Lancaster running back, all-star, all-American, went to KCU. He's having some redshirt issues right now, so he's back in town. He's going to go do the game. I'm excited to do it. I'm excited to cover these two teams. Two really good teams in terms of regional.
You going to make a pick on this one?
No.
No?
Oh, no. No, I'm not picking this game.
You ruin your pretty decent record.
Well, no.
Oh, you mean my 39-9 record?
Yeah,
Yes.
he's 39-9
Okay.
against
All right.
Jonathan Thompson.
I'm super excited. I'm super excited about this, though. I still I have to pick my punishment for him.
Yeah, you
I have to pick the punishment. Maybe
Yeah.
I'll make him wear this pink 8-man Extreme shirt.
Yep, so 8-man Extreme history is going to be made. First time you guys will be down in Alabama for that matchup. It's going to be special.
Because Spencer booked something.
Oh, yeah. I booked it. I booked it purposefully because it's fall break. I need to rest my voice.
Yeah, that's true.
You fail to realize the amount of double, triple headers you put me through on the season. Like, my voice is still shot from
All
this
right.
past Friday. It was a good
Touche.
game.
Touche.
He needs
Touche.
to rest his voice and work on his face for radio.
For real.
Yeah, I need to work on my face for radio for sure.
For real.
So let me just rattle off the teams: Bowling Green, South Haven, Lighthouse, Christian Community, Riverside, Ezel, Franklin Christian, Lancaster Christian, Franklin Classical. All those teams are on a bye week. All of them are are taking a week vacation for fall break. A lot of teams inactive. That's why James is going down to Alabama because he wanted to get one game active.
I don't want to sit home on a Friday night, and a 6-2 versus 8-0 is a big matchup. It's also in our conference. There's two conferences in Alabama. There's the CFA and the ACSC. Ezekiel's in the ACSC with Evangel and a couple other teams. Russell's in the CFA with like 10 different teams. They're tops of their conference. Ezekiel's going to end up playing for the championship in their conference. It's going to be a big game.
Yeah, it'll be huge for sure. And then Saturday.
And Russell's from Mississippi.
Saturday, there are two games going on. The game we're not going to be present at is actually not down, up on the mountain. The Tennessee Heat is traveling to face off against the St. Andrew Swanee Mountain Lions.
Actually, I'm pretty sure it's Heat R. Because Heat is plural.
Heat is who I is.
Private schooler.
So the matchup is between the Mountain Lions and the Heat, and specifically for the Mountain Lions, it's tough because they're still looking for their first W of the year. They have a chance on it for the Tennessee Heat, but the Tennessee Heat is a team, or they are a team, however you want to word it. They are a team that was going to be number 2 or number 3 seed in the MTAC playoffs for the North. So it's one of those tougher matchups, especially with the new acquisitions they made on their side. So for the Mountain Lions in their last game of the year, really interesting.
Yeah, the Heat are 2-0 since picking up the Corley twins. Matt Corley taking over at quarterback. The Swanee keeps rolling. I mean, I mentioned it earlier. Caleb McLean, no matter where you put him, he's solid. Bo Sane has made some plays. Cameron Harmon at quarterback as a junior. Cam Robinson on the line. But I've got the Heat taking this one over Swanee. 2 o'clock kickoff for this one.
Yep, 2 o'clock.
Spence.
The good thing as well on the mountain.
Timing wouldn't work out.
What was that? You
Well,
wanted to try and do a doubleheader.
Well, I was
going to
say, I mean, Swanee plays at 2 and
They play at 7. I mean, we could test that. We could.
no, you can't make it for Swanee. It's
Swanee to
a
Knoxville.
2-hour drive.
Yeah,
No.
it would be way too tight of a window unless they delay the kickoff for us, but we wouldn't make it.
Well, we don't know about the signal situation at Swanee.
Yeah, exactly.
So-
Because I told you to test that when you went to that Riverside.
I
Swanee
did,
game,
and
you
I
said
mean,
you didn't.
they're getting there.
They're getting there. It's getting close. It's getting close. So the game we're going to be at for the first time since 2016, 8-Man Extreme is going to cover a home game for the Tennessee School for the Deaf Vikings because unfortunately we tried to go out there last year and the car just broke down about an hour out from the stadium. So We're making sure that it's not
Terrible
occurring this time.
situation.
So the Vikings are facing off for the
That was an
first time
expensive Uber ride.
against the Florida School for the Deaf
From
and
Harriman,
Blind.
Tennessee to Mount Juliet, Tennessee.
Yeah.
That was an expensive Uber
Oh yeah.
and an awkward Uber too.
Oh yeah. That was ridiculous. But even though I wasn't
I
part
can
of it, I
only
heard the
imagine.
ridiculous stuff.
It
Yeah,
was bad.
the
Isaiah
distance.
was with us. Anyways.
The Vikings host the Florida School for the Deaf and Blind on Saturday in primetime Saturday fashion. It's going to be a very interesting game for the Vikings. The second time we've covered them this year, ever since that amazing game against the Patriots of South Haven. It was a really good matchup, especially with Lorenzo Curry still at the wide receiver position. This is going to be a really interesting game to call, and I'm really excited to go back to that whole environment, because the Vikings, they always come out with their fan base and such. It was great.
If you haven't seen it, go on our Instagram and look at our stories. I got a chance to go to a practice, and got a chance to just kind of refresh on how everything looks. It's a crazy environment. You've never been there, have you? Yeah, no.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Now, granted,
dude.
when we went out there in
pretty insane.
2016, you can't go back and view the broadcast for it, because that's when we didn't have visual broadcast. That was an audio on Blog Talk, which I think they may have deleted those broadcasts at this point. I'm not sure. But it was I've testified to it before when we interviewed Coach Jordan Cooper. It was very much a moving moment for me to be submerged in that environment.
It was a lot of fun.
Before. It was a lot of fun. It gave me a lot of perspective. It's going to be a great game. But James, you got to make a pick on this one. Are you
I'm
a Tennessee
actually
homer this week?
Do what?
Are you a Tennessee homer this week?
Do what?
Are you a Tennessee homer
I heard
this
you the
week?
first time. So I'm actually going to take. I'm going to take Florida on this one. I'm going to pick Florida. No, hang on.
What were your
Wait.
picks preseason?
Wait.
You gotta
No,
stick
I'm
with those.
pulling it. Well, I'm pulling it up.
Yeah.
I'm pulling it up. I'm trying to find it.
He's switching it up on us.
No,
he
I'm not.
He hasn't done that once this season, so I mean, if he does that once,
Okay, you know what? No, I'm taking Florida.
Was that your preseason
Yes.
pick? All right.
I'm taking Florida.
You gonna elaborate on that at all? Or?
Florida's been playing some 11-man, I believe. Might be just 8-man. No, they're playing all 8. But so far they're 4-0. They've beat the other 3 teams in the little district that they play in. Or they beat 2. No, they beat all 3 teams, plus they beat Mississippi, who whooped Tennessee. So I'm taking Florida.
Well, we're not going to be allowed in the stadium on Saturday for you not being a Tennessee homer.
No, they appreciate us, and well, we don't have to ask permission to go there. So
That's true.
yeah.
That is true. That is true. They'll fully be fine with it. So again, no games on Friday for Tennessee, but you guys are going to Russell and Ezekiel on Friday.
Whoop.
You and
Don't have
Matthew
to ask
Bowden.
for permission for that one
Yeah,
either.
you and Matthew Bowden.
They're
are headed
excited
down
to
there.
have us down there.
Yeah, they've been getting
Team
hyped
from
for it.
Mississippi and a team from they're very excited.
They're very
It's about
hyped.
3 hours from Russell to Ezekiel, so people who can't make the drive, they want this one.
And then we will be heading to Knoxville for the Tennessee School for the Deaf versus the Florida
A
School
lot
for
of
the
traveling
Deaf
this
and Blind.
weekend.
Should we announce our special All-Star thing that's going to be taking place sometime in the very near future?
What All-Stars? What?
All
They're
right.
voting for the All-Star?
Yeah. Should we tell people?
Yeah, it's opening tomorrow.
All right. Yep. Yeah, because somebody asked that.
Duh.
So tomorrow we are opening voting officially for the 2019 Extreme All-Star Game. And again, it's a 3 we have the coaches' nominations in. We've compiled those in. We're putting in also our picks of who we believe deserves a nomination. And then you as fans will be able to vote on who you think should be going to the 2019 Chick-fil-A All-Star Extreme All-Star Game. Tomorrow that's going to be
Such
posted.
a ring to it.
That's going to be posted tomorrow on our social media. But you have to go to our website to go vote for that stuff
yes,
this
it
time.
is voting on the website.
Thanks,
JD.
Thanks for giving me a heads up on that, guys.
Oh yeah, no.
I told you to embed it.
Hey,
told you
you
to-
helped with the first All-Star game. How cool is it to have Chick-fil-A on board?
I mean,
Did you ever think Chick-fil-A would get on board with it?
I know what we went through trying to put it together the first
For
time.
real though.
I know what I dealt with.
Real
with
talk.
James's smart mouth
Mm-hmm.
trying to put this together the first
What?
time. I'm just kidding.
Don't
Just
even
kidding.
say
It's a joke,
what.
it's a joke, it's a
Don't
joke.
even say what. You know what you did.
What?
You know what you did.
What?
But yes,
I know what you did last summer.
voting opens tomorrow for the 2019 Chick-fil-A Extreme All-Star Game. Vote for your
I know
favorites.
what you did last
Vote for
summer.
your favorites to go to the All-Star Game. You
I
could
know what
vote
you did last
once per day. It will be open for about 2 weeks. We will close it on – what day do we want to close voting on, James? We're going to go with the 21st, that Monday? or are we going to extend it just a
No, we are
Nah,
going to
fam.
close it on
25th.
the 19th.
Okay, so we give you 13 days to, or actually 12 days from when voting launches to vote. So you have 12 days to vote for your
No, it's
favorites.
13.
Out there. 7, 8,
You got
9,
Monday,
10,
Tuesday,
11, 12.
Wednesday,
Including
Monday, Tuesday,
that day.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
That's 7.
That's 8.
Nah, bro.
Tuesday.
You're including the day that it launches. I'm saying from the time it
No.
starts. to
Yeah,
the-
it launches on Monday,
Uh-huh.
and then there, or
Yeah.
maybe Tuesday.
So that would be
JD's looking at me like
13
it's gonna be
days.
Tuesday.
It'd be 13 days.
I'm looking at you like I'm not sure when it'll happen.
It should
Tuesday.
it'll
It'll
launch
happen.
tomorrow.
It'll happen.
It's going to launch tomorrow.
Listen,
You
we
have
are
to
all
go to the website.
dedicated. It'll happen.
Yep.
Worst case scenario, it'll be open Tuesday, but
Yep.
we'll for sure have a social media post
Yeah,
when
and
it
it-
goes live.
Yep, and
Or you could just keep checking the website.
amanextreme.com.
Crazy idea.
So yeah, All-Star voting opens tomorrow or Wednesday. It'll be about 12, 13 days for you to vote for your favorites to go towards the 2019 Chick-fil-A All-Star game. So that will open. I'm off for Friday, but active on Saturday. James will be active with Matthew Bowden. Then James and I will be heading out to Knoxville. So so Russell and Ezekiel, the two Alabama teams, an interconference game, colliding about 3 hours south of here, I believe, or maybe a little bit more or less.
Where?
It's 4 hours, right?
From here it's about 4 hours. Yeah,
Four
a little
hour
bit of a
drive
road
for you
trip,
guys.
but
And it's about
worth
3
it.
hours for you and I to go out to Knoxville. We haven't done that since 2016.
lot of traveling.
Really looking forward to it. So
You're driving Saturday.
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
My car's going to be in the shop, but I'm fine with that.
You're driving Saturday.
All right.
We'll figure out a way for you to drive.
Fair. Again, Russell and Ezekiel on Friday, and Tennessee School for the Deaf Vikings, Florida School for the Deaf and Blind. Don't know what their mascot is, actually. I
It's
don't
the
remember.
Dragons.
The Dragons, yeah. I was trying to see that helmet logo there.
I'm pretty sure it's the Dragons.
Looks like it's probably the Dragons. What a mascot name. I haven't heard anybody call themselves the Dragons. Sounds
Well,
amazing.
it's not technically a Christian school, so you can't have the
Right.
the people that are upset that your mascot's a dragon. Hang on.
You looking for any dragon
I'll
mascots?
make sure.
out there?
Yep, it's the Dragons.
So best
Pretty
best of luck
dope
to both
logo
teams.
and helmet.
Yeah,
though.
it looks really good. Looks really good. That's going to wrap it up for Extreme
Yeah.
Radio today, presented by GracePointe Healthcare. Go to GracePointeHealthcare.com. Mention you're with 8-Man Extreme when you request your appointment online. You get $20 off your new patient office visit fee. GracePointe Healthcare, modern medicine the old-fashioned way. And sponsored by Dr. Sterling Foster. Go to drsterlingfoster.com for all your digestive issues and chiropractic needs.
Guess what I'll be picking up on Friday for the trip down to Alabama, because I'll need fuel for this weekend. It's some Jets Pizza. I will put a picture on social media of the Jets Pizza.
Yep.
I will prove to you that I buy Jets Pizza on Friday. Me and Matt Bowden
Let's
will
do both
eat on
days.
some. Yep, let's do both.
Saturday on
Bam,
the
done.
way to the game. We'll get some Jets pizza.
We'll do some Jets
Sounds good.
Pizza both times.
Maybe we could do a BLT pizza.
they don't.
They don't have. They
They
need
need to bring it back. But
They
for
do.
real,
Why
though,
you gotta trigger him like that?
Yeah, that's the point.
it's
That's
a
the
trigger point.
point.
Anyways, yes. So I will prove that we have Jets as fuel for Friday and Saturday. We're going to need
Sounds
it.
good.
Jets Pizza, whether you're in Springfield, Clarksville, Fort Campbell, coming soon to Goodlettsville. No, but no
Anywhere.
matter where you are, it's always a great time to say, let's get Jets. And, hey, we're going to be doing a lot of traveling this week. Guess what you got to have when you travel? Insurance. Guess what I don't like to buy? Insurance. Guess where you need to go? I hate buying insurance.com. Our buddy Joe Graves will hook you up. We'll take care of it. I hate buying insurance.com. Give him a chance.
Give him a chance for sure.
Fastest sponsor spots ever.
Friday, Russell Ezekiel, James, and Matthew Bowden will be on the call for that. What was that? That was a Berman. That was a Berman whoop from
That was-
ESPN.
That was a what?
Berman whoop from ESPN. You know
I thought
the
you said
the
a
count
burp and whoop. I was
fastest
like, what?
fastest 60 seconds. There he goes on the field. Looks up. Whoop whoop whoop.
Now y'all are really just trying to bust out everybody's ears.
Oh,
who's
yeah.
listening right now.
That's been the plan. That's been the plan since day one. Don't do that
I
again.
think Tony just touched the microphone. Sorry, y'all.
Saturday, Tennessee School for the Deaf Vikings host the Florida School for the Deaf and Blind Dragons. We will be live from there, but be sure to catch that game on Friday. And especially all you teams that are inactive, watch the game.
Watch the game Friday night.
There's
I mean,
nothing else going on
do
Friday as
it.
far as I'm aware.
Just
Is there a Preds
do
game?
it.
Is there a Preds game going on
No,
Friday?
I don't think there
Don't
is.
think so. Come on,
Nah,
catch the
but
game.
there's a Preds game tomorrow.
Go
Okay.
Birds.
Yeah, you can vote for the All-Star game while you're watching the Preds game.
Boom. Or
Exactly.
watch Monday Night Raw.
Yeah.
Or for the record,
who
why don't-
cares?
why don't
Who
these-
cares about Monday Night Raw?
Why don't y'all that are still listening actually take a moment to go to James's personal social media page and my personal social media page and look at what we got to do. What was it, like a week and a half ago?
About a
Stuff
week
with your
ago.
kiddos or something?
No.
There's something else.
James
No
and his
shameless
wife.
plugs.
James and his wife and me and my wife went
Little
and sat-
double date for
went
a
sat
hockey game.
Oh yeah, you guys
on
went
the
to the Preds game.
glass.
Yeah. Congratulations. I've
It's
never been.
absolutely
I've never been
wonderful.
About
glass
3
side
different
for the Preds.
places on the glass.
I've never been. I've never been glass side for any of the Preds games. I've usually been up in either the box suites or I've been closer to lower
People don't want to hear about this. We're supposed to be wrapping the show up.
As you talk about your Preds game stuff, don't even start.
Hey, I got an Extreme Talk episode cooking.
Yep.
Season finale. It's
Season
going to be
finale.
pretty
Pretty
hot.
good. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps it up for Extreme Radio today, presented by GracePointe Healthcare. On behalf of James Shannon, JD Young, Monica Shannon, all the hardworking men and women that make 8-Man Extreme successful, I'm Spencer Thompson. We'll see you Friday for Russell and Ezekiel and Saturday for the Vikings and the Dragons.
See ya!